You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Teen Wolf After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Teen Wolf After Show.
Hello, AfterBuzzers. Bing is for doing, and we're here doing another AfterBuzz TV after show for MTV's Teen Wolf Season 3, Episode 8, Visionary. I'm your host, Kristen Snyder. Joining me this evening, AfterBuzz TV host, Sara Stretton.
Hi, guys.
You may recognize our special guest this evening from movies such as The Dark Knight Rises, Pearl Harbor, interpretation, TV shows such as The Client List, CSI, The Mentalist, Boy Meets World, and most recently playing Peter Hale on MTV's Teen Wolf. Please welcome Ian Bohen.
Hi, happy to be here.
So happy to have you in studio with us this evening.
It's awesome. Love it.
I have to ask, do you always play the bad guy? Because I mentioned Boy Meets World because you egged and TP'd Mr. Feeney's house.
I absolutely did.
In Boy Meets World. And that's kind of my theory why your eyes are blue.
Is that it? You know, lately I've been trending a lot towards bad guys. And it's not something you really choose necessarily, like you just want to take this or just want to take that. But as I look back lately, I've been playing a lot of really bad dudes lately. I did a thing on major crimes, and that guy ended up being a really bad dude. And so that's all cool because the bad guy's a lot of fun. You get to do a lot, of interesting stuff, and it's not always so pat. So as far as the blue eyes go, no. The blue eyes are what make me sweet. That's how I come back.
That's his redeeming
That's my
quality.
redeeming quality.
That's so people don't hate him.
Right. He didn't kill Mr. Feeney in Boy Meets World, but he killed his spirit for teaching. I mean, after that episode where you egged and TP'd his house, he didn't want to teach anymore. He was going to retire.
Details, not my problem. Seriously, not my problem.
See, he really doesn't care.
He really doesn't.
At the side and see what happens.
After the fact caring.
All right, talking about the episode this evening, we got a lot of answers and a lot of character development this episode. The irony of these storytellers, though, from my perspective, is that they're both kind of the antagonists who are responsible for what happened in these stories.
That's what's great about the way it's set up in the narrative, right? So you've got Gerard, Michael Hogan, terrific actor, and you've got Peter Hale telling the story, and so you assume that they're telling the truth, and then you see what they're telling, right, as they narrate it, but you're not sure if what you're seeing is how he remembers it, how he wants you to remember it, or what really happened, because they contradict each other from time to time. So at the end, you're supposed to try to figure out like the motive and who wants what, and that's what's so tricky about this show is you never really know what people are going for, going
What's
after.
their agenda?
They're good or they're bad, and we blur the lines, and nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so is something that I like to go with a lot.
That's the evil side of him talking.
That is the evil side of me talking. So you're going to have to wait and see. And to be honest, I'm not exactly sure, either. All this stuff isn't necessarily resolved at the end of the season. I mean, it's got a long, it's got a full arc that goes onward. But certainly, you can always rest assured things aren't as they seem.
I mean, I would agree with you. It's like the whole, throughout the entire episode, you're watching, you're comparing, you're trying to find the truth. And I was just worried that they were going to take Gerard and Peter for their story, like completely wholeheartedly. So when we get that flip at the end and we see that our two kind of more hero characters, can see through that and see through a level past the words and into the thought process and into the people they're talking to. I thought that was important and good.
But also on that, Dylan, Stiles' character is the one that sits down. He's like, hold on a second when he's talking to Corey. He's like, it sounded funny, and he's the one that clicks with. And we assume that everybody that's not in that scene that I wasn't directly telling the story to will at least hear the story, or that they know the information. But they don't necessarily know that element of maybe there's something fishy here. So that's another great avenue that we assume that they see what we saw, but they actually didn't. So we're not sure how I can use those relationships to my benefit later.
That's
It's
a
also
good point.
just, it's confusing a little bit for the audience, though. It's because you get that divide of remembering what the characters know and what we've seen and how, like, they make their choices off of that. They're never going to know the visions like we saw.
It's hard for the
memories.
actors too,
Yeah.
because you got to keep all this stuff, straight. You got to remember, wait, do I know that? When did I know that? You really have to pay attention when you're reading scripts, and you got to make notes and figure all this stuff out. And that's part of the fun of doing the show.
Do you have a book of all your notes about
I
your
write all
character?
my life importantness down on yellow legal pads that my uncle got me turned on to. You know those ones?
I do know exactly what
I
you're
love
talking
them. I've got
about.
little clips on the bottom to keep them from dog earing, and everything is. And so those are like my Bible, and I just have all the pages, and I can flip back. And if I don't like a page, I can tear it out. It's fun. Legal pads.
I like that.
Get some. Change your life.
What are we promoting this episode?
I know.
Let's get
Anyway.
into our first topic of Blue Eyes. And I would like to argue that young love is the best love. The blindness of it, the pureness of it, that unknowing fear of what's to come.
But
And
it never seems to last.
But if I could do one thing in this world, I would always choose to fall in love for the first time. Because you are willing to put everything into it, and it's something that you'll never feel again, in my mind. I mean, what did you guys, your first love experience, were you reminded of it in this episode?
Go ahead. Do you want to take this one?
Do I want to take the love question?
Are you in love right now?
saying this
Are you in
because
love
I'm
with
a
somebody?
girl? I'm not in love with anyone right now.
I'm gonna say, but I have strong feelings about
Callers,
this.
get on the line.
And I like.
424.
Do you need to say that number?
No, I was saying it so they could call Sara.
Oh,
Great.
Oh, yeah,
She's
right.
single.
That's
Love
funny.
line.
So yeah, I think when you fall in love, I think you get that every time. I love it. I love falling in love.
You get it every time.
I
But what
fall
about-
in love at first sight.
But
It's
is it different
immediate.
from your first love?
Doesn't have to
Do you
be.
remember your first love though?
Everyone remembers their
Yes,
first
but
love.
it
Exactly.
You
doesn't.
can't forget your first
It's
love.
it's kind of so simple and so pure and so naive that it, and not that it's not truthful, but you don't even really get it. You're just like, oh, this is so great. And as you get older, you still have that, but you get it more. And so it's, to be honest, it's better. Like it gets better. And every time it's the same, like, oh my God. I like
Obviously, someone's a romantic. And
Yeah.
Okay, for sure, to be sure.
romantic.
So
No.
I don't know. I've always clung to the first one.
who was your first love?
I don't know if I
Name.
should talk about this one.
Social security number. Where does he live?
How'd you meet? What was your first kiss?
Yeah.
Was it in a distillery?
I
'Cause
will
that's
tell
what
you
I wanna pick
that
up
we
with
did
people.
have a dark corner, and that was a 1985 Ford Bronco. Did you guys have dark corners with your first love, as mentioned in this episode?
Mine
Cars were definitely
wasn't
a
so
thing.
dark. It was more like the playground at school.
Under the slide, at
I
least.
can do like that bar where you just would do somersaults over. I could do like 6 in a row, and I'm like, yo, what the heck? Get some of that. Yeah.
Instant love, right?
Oh, I mean, who could say no?
I mean, mine wasn't as creepy as the ones in this show, though.
Right.
I feel like everywhere.
I don't think theirs is creepy. I think
You don't think a distillery is creepy?
No, I think it's edgy and romantic, and there's an
Yeah,
element of
there was
danger to
hay
it.
there,
That's what
right?
makes it. That's what makes it cool, because you're like trepidatious, and you're like,
And you can smell blood.
and I
in
shouldn't
your
be here. That's what makes it hot.
trespassing.
Well, getting back to
Definitely.
the episode, Cora
Always
was
been a
trying to explain to Stiles why Derek had gone missing after killing Boyd, sort of killing Boyd, and our unreliable narrator Peter steps in, and he brings light to Derek's mysterious demeanor. And to understand why people are the way they are right now, we often have to look at their past. And after figuring out, seeing Derek's story, we definitely all can feel a little bit more for him. And so we see Derek fall in love with Paige, the cello player, which I loved that scene where they actually confessed their love to each other. The music was amazing. It was Joanna by Def Joe, and you can download that for free at
That's
MTV.
awesome. Yeah, we've got great music on this show. Just as a side note, Dino Menengen, he's our composer. He's fantastic.
We had him on a few weeks
Oh,
ago.
so you know him. Okay,
You
so
know
he's
Dino?
good.
And Laura.
Laura's great. So
her
it's
on.
really important that we get good tunes. We don't have a bunch of money to get the latest super pop song, but we make the music that sounds just as equally good, if not better.
I mean, we've been
I agree.
asking for playlists, so
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
we
no, it's
came on and we
good
were like,
stuff.
"Playlist,
I
please."
download the songs,
Totally
and Laura
makes the
sends
shows.
tweets me some good songs. I love it.
We have a chance to. I'm going to give a slight spoiler. We have a chance to get I can't tell you who it's by, but we have an outside chance of getting a song by like incredibly huge artist that if it works, if Laura can work it out, it will blow everybody away. So keep your fingers crossed that you're going to hear somebody that you were going to stand up and clap for.
I'm
Keep
very
our ears
excited.
open, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So Peter, tells Derek that the only way to make sure that he'll always be with Paige is to turn her, because what's going to happen when she finds out that he's actually a wolf, and she's not going to accept him. And I feel like she was really his escape from like the loneliness of being a wolf, because he's obviously one of few in this town. What did you guys feel about that?
Well, I think, Derek, at that age, he's clearly different and he knows it, but he's managed it in a way that he's not so manic and crazy as Scott is, not so, torn up by it. He's able to, have his life and still kind of be happy-go-lucky as we see him then. And since her death, he's become the guy, that we know now, the brooding and dark. And it's great to see him before that, because it humanizes him more and we can relate to him more and get his pain. And I think that makes him a more important character.
And like that's important, but there's a line there because the audience gets that. Like the audience watching it, we saw that Derek was a really good guy, and obviously circumstance turned him into being more cold. But if you base it just on the story being told, like just your version of the story, he doesn't seem like that great of a guy. He seems like he's always kind of, walked on more of a dangerous route versus like without the visual, we wouldn't have seen the happy-go-lucky Derek.
Well, that's part of Peter's manipulation, and depending on who he's talking to and what stage he wants to set and how he wants you to think about his story, and that goes back to, well, is it which is actually true, what you're seeing or what he's telling you, and
which does he believe?
Does Peter believe?
Yeah,
it's like on any great lie, he gets caught up, and he may not even know, to be honest, what happens. If you tell yourself something long enough, you actually can go, I think it was like this. Yeah. And that's interesting. And it also goes like what you just said. That's part of one of the bigger themes of the whole show is how you can take an innocent something and put a circumstance on it and completely change it and then have to deal with that. And that is just, that comes up time and time again. And now we're getting to see it, whereas we've just heard about it, which is really cool.
For me, this episode was one of the biggest themes because it left me thinking about if people can be innately evil or if everyone's changed, because you're put in the position to think that Gerard and Peter are the manipulators of the whole situation, but at the same time, we're getting stories showing how people change. So if you really think about it, obviously something made Peter and Gerard who they are, and it's like, what is their story?
Why is Peter's eyes blue?
And both of them, both Peter and Gerard, would say, it's not my fault. Something happened to me.
Yeah.
No one's born evil. It's, you're part of your environment and the people around you educating you and giving you experiences, and you trend this way or that way, and you have, good guys and bad guys. But also, no one thinks they're bad in the whole world, and so that's interesting too. So, Peter's constantly like, guys, it's not my fault. It's not my fault.
He's trying to make the plan work.
Serious. So that's what's important, I think, for him, because he's not just a pat, villain that's just muhaha. He's really, what he thinks he's doing is actually for the betterment in his own mind of, whatever, he can justify it.
Right. He thought that, having Ennis bite Paige, then Ennis would be on good graces with Talia, Derek's mom.
Sure.
But unfortunately, her body rejects the bite. And we see her die, and Derek, I guess, end up having to take her life, which is what turns his eyes blue and darkens his soul and his brilliant eyes to a cold blue.
That's right.
I like the blue eyes. So
they do look very cool. They do look.
I think they look nice.
Really, really cool. When I saw it for the first time, I was like, "Oh, those look kind of cool."
I want the blue eyes. Not the...
Not terrible. Maybe if they were like a steel black, I'd feel partially bad for him. But they're like blue. Like I like blue.
Yeah.
So, but what I want to know is why Peter is this like constant haunting presence in Derek's life. Like you're even peeking in on him, making out with Paige. Like you did save his life by catching the arrow, but it's like you are just this haunting shadow of his.
Is he haunting or is he overlooking?
Well, you said you claimed you were his best friend, and that's why you knew all this. But I'm not sure he feels the same way.
Yeah, that definitely is a claim. And as I watched that line, I even thought to myself, I was like, I don't believe you. That was a lie. I totally don't believe you. It is a little weird and a little creepy. He's constantly monitoring. He wants to make sure his plan unfolds the right way. So that's one thing he's checking in on. But I think he's got so many issues, that he's so much of a sociopath, that he needs Derek to like him. He's clearly got issues there. His past and his parents and his childhood and all that stuff maybe will come up later, but we can assume it was, rough.
Yeah.
So he's clinging to anything normal that makes him feel good, or even just like stable, just not a complete freak, which he probably thinks of himself as a total outcast. And so whatever he can do to make friends and influence and be seen as okay, I think that makes him feel like he's not, doesn't need to jump out a window.
I think that
Maybe
makes a
that's
lot
what
of sense.
Deucalion's doing too. His Alpha Pack, they're kind of his friends. He's reaching out.
Well, we can kind of see he wasn't always a bad guy, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, totally.
Stiles says he's going to ask Derek about this, but I'm not sure what's going to be achieved by asking Derek about this horrible story where he had to kill his first love. I mean, what is Stiles looking for other than confirmation that Peter's lying or not lying?
I think that's it. He wants to know, is that how it went down? Because he's so bright and he's got it all figured out in his head, and he just needs to put the last piece in. And it would be so easy for Derek to say, wait a second, that's not how it happened, which I don't think that they'll ever let us see that, because it would be too obvious.
Right.
And then the game would be up. So I don't think we're going to get that moment. Something's going to come in the way of that, or I'll find some way to make sure that doesn't happen, because I can't get caught.
Right.
Yeah, I think that it can't be that easy. It never is. But I mean, Derek has other people to open up to now.
Jennifer Blake.
Yeah, basically. Maybe she'll get the truth out.
Oh, maybe.
Stiles can get it from Jennifer. Who knows?
Stiles says it seems like Derek is the one that everyone's after, so he should do something. But we find out last episode from Deaton that it's actually Scott that everyone's after. So I guess it's up to Scott to actually do something.
Well, he's always been the focus. There's been the red herrings all throughout to distract, and because it's interesting and fun. But the show is about the Teen Wolf, and it always is going to boil down to him. Even if you think for sure this time it's going to go this way, I would think it always has to go back to him.
But they do make such parallels, like especially in this episode, just the fact that Paige looked so much like Allison, and they referred to Derek as being like Scott, or like earlier Derek being like how Scott is now. And
we get that scene in the woods in the beginning that was like a reflection from the first
there were
episode
so
of
many
the pilot.
parallel lines drawn between their two characters.
Yeah, I think that's intentional. It lets everyone relate. And also for the audience, they feel like this all makes sense. This is how people behave, and we get this stuff, and we gravitate towards other people that are like us and kind of know our experiences, and so it all kind of works out magically.
Hopefully.
I think you guys are right. Well, at the end of this episode, we get Derek back at that old warehouse, and he's kind of being hypnotized by that vengeance spiral that Ennis had put there years ago. I mean, I know you can't really say a lot, but Sara, do you think he's going to go on a vengeance path? What do you think we can take from seeing this scene?
I mean, I feel like we've been on a vengeance path. I don't think it's going to be a new thing. I feel like there's been so much vengeance this season.
But by Derek specifically, do you think he'll make the mistake of following in Ennis's footsteps?
I'm not sure. I think that we still have to watch Derek deal with the fact of him dealing with the power he absorbed from Boyd. We haven't seen that yet, so I think we have to kind of hit that battle first and see how he's going to deal with his pack before he moves on to vengeance or going against or joining Deucalion. We still have to see him make that decision.
Mm-hmm. Again, this was like my favorite topic of the episode, and I really loved this episode because I feel like as an audience member, our first love, it's like the death of a first relationship, not our like other mate when we were like in 10th grade was like bitten and carried off by a werewolf into the woods and left for dead, but it's like we all can relate to that first relationship dying because that person is dead to us, at least. Like, they're not in our life anymore. So I really like that we got that little nostalgic topic and we could all kind of relate to Derek and all of our feelings. We can relate back to our past and put that into Derek's character.
And we also see it with, you know, Stiles in an episode, 2 episodes before, the girl at the party in the wine cellar. They didn't necessarily have a relationship, but he knew her since he was a kid, and you saw how affected he was at that loss. You know, you have Scott and Allison; they've, you know, essentially broken up, and they're a loss. Some of the other characters, you know,
Lydia
Danny
lost
and
her first
Ethan,
love.
Lydia lost. So that constantly comes up because everybody gets it and has to deal with it. So I think that's going to continue, if not get worse.
I know you said that like you feel like every time you're falling in love for the first time, but I feel like the pain is the greatest after the first one. Would you at least agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. When you're younger, it's so hopeless. It is so devastatingly, incapacitatingly hopeless to lose love that you think you cannot go on. You think, I know this is irrational. Truly, I will not be able to go on. I will probably die soon. And that's just
It
the end.
is.
And you know, it may hurt just as much when you're older, but you know
Yeah.
it's going to be okay. But there's something about that youth, and that's beautiful. I mean, to be so madly in love with someone, I'll take it.
Me too. Let's get on to our next topic, although I hate to leave the subject of love. Hunters and werewolves. So we get Gerard telling Scott and Allison the story of kind of, you know, Deucalion's blindness and the origin of how this whole feud really started between the hunters and the werewolves. And Gerard only agrees to tell Scott because he wants him to, like, suck the pain out of him from the cancer or whatever. I really feel like Gerard likes Scott, even though he's throwing him on all these, like, wild chases and not really being honest with him. What do you think?
I think Gerard is just clinging to life and wants to have some interaction with something. He's so used to being the brains behind the operation that I just think he can't let go of that power. I don't think he likes Scott. I think Scott is just a tool for him to get rid of this pain and to be involved.
I think he does like Scott. I think he respects him much the same way that
She's making faces. Be careful over there, Sarah. He plays the bad guys.
Have you seen what I do?
With the person on the show.
Do you know who he is? Don't make faces at him.
So in much the same way that Gerard, in the beginning, you know, when Allison brought Scott home, he was like, this ain't happening. Came to respect and appreciate him, and especially Gerard, because I think Scott represents something good and pure that Gerard could never be.
Right.
You know, even though they're quote foes, I think Gerard... You know, I think he respects him. I think he goes deep down. Yeah, this is a good guy, and Gerard can't be a good guy. So that's a neat thing, as opposed to him just wanting to, you know, to beat him or to kill him. It's nice to see that little bit of a pull between, like, I like you, but I still have to kill you.
Do you think Gerard loves his family then? Like, do you think like he loves Allison like a granddaughter?
I don't think he can. I don't think he's capable of separating. You know, the mentality between what he wants and what he needs, and then the human love of family. He is a psychopath. Peter's a sociopath. There's room for improvement. Gerard, complete psychopath, and he just can't. So
his emotions stop at like respect, pretty much.
At just any like respect for life at all.
I feel like he's always playing defense, and he feels that everyone is attacking him all the time.
Yeah, because then it makes it easier to do what you do, right?
Absolutely.
And you're like, hey, it's not my fault. I got it. They did it. I'm just, you know, responding. And then you go, okay, I can deal with that. And then you tell yourself those lies, and then you can cut people in half with the broadsword, and you can, you know,
stab people's eyes out.
You can stab
That's
people's
normal.
eyes. Yeah, absolutely. And
Totally
he can go to sleep at
mentally
night.
Think of that. Yeah.
I would have a harder time with that.
Mentioning the eyes, we actually get to see that, you know, Deucalion was trying to make peace, even though Ennis had one of his wolf pack killed because they actually accidentally killed a hunter, so the hunters killed someone from his wolf pack. So he wanted vengeance, you know, and Deucalion's trying to say, look, this isn't a good idea. You murder one person, it turns into a massacre, and then, you know, we end up no better than our enemies. So...
Yep. Which is also another theme.
Right, and it was really nice to see Deucalion. You know, he wasn't always this bad guy.
That was
He just
really cool.
always had a vision.
I
He's
really
always
liked
had a vision.
Yeah,
just
for sure.
Changing visions.
I really liked him in that first warehouse scene. He was just a man, you know, he's totally normal. He was reasonable. And for the first time, I was like, I can relate to, I like this guy. He's a cool cat. And even though he's, you know, a wolf and they, you know, they kill people, he's, you know, fighting against that the same way Derek does. Derek is not just out, you know, killing people. We've heard from the beginning from all Argent's, you know, talks about, you know, the wolves and the hunters, that we kill those, you know, that kill us, and we are defending ourselves. And so we get this idea that wolves are out, you know, just eating people. And maybe they are, and so they have to be hunted, and that's fine. But we see Derek, whom we know and love, and he's not, you know, doing anything bad. Scott doesn't have, you know, he's not homicidal. And Deucalion wasn't, it seems.
Right.
But then things happen, and this is another theme, and you're like, well, now I have to do this. And so it's like, why did the war start, you know, in anything? And no one can really remember truly when, like, why do I hate you? I can't remember why I hate you so much, but I know we do, so we should fight.
But we
have
should
a
not be
code.
Facebook.
Yeah,
Fighting.
yeah.
On the other hand, but I mean, I liked the side as well. I liked that we got to see another side of him as a good person, and also that Talia was brought into the picture.
Right,
And
that
we
was a great
see,
scene.
Like, kind of the interlocking
Shapeshift.
of the webs that's happened in the years past this or before this, and the fact that there was a lot of little tidbits of information we got. This episode to me was so much about information, and that's what I've been
Right.
looking for and like asking for at the end of each episode, and like.
I definitely want to talk about all those like little pieces in our last topic about the Druids and the emissaries. But I really liked when Deaton advised Deucalion not to meet with Gerard, saying that, you know, your faith in humanity is underestimated, and if you don't take in consideration Gerard's nature, it's like the story with the scorpion and the frog, which I'm not going to repeat for a third time. You guys all saw the episode.
It's a silly story. I'm sorry.
I like that story.
I like it too.
Yeah, I've heard it for years,
just
and it's,
want-
it's great. So poignant.
I just want the frog to make it across the river.
Maybe
in my
he
mind,
does.
every time I hear
He
it.
can make it in your mind. That's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, they came to
happy
make they came to make peace, and Gerard, you know, clearly playing the defense, thought that this was a trap, and so he actually made it a trap for them. And the worst part was he killed his own men with the mace that had the spikes on it, the spiked mace, that club, and it had like the claws on it. So clearly he could go back to his people and say, look, it wasn't me, like I went there, it was a trap, I barely got out, they like killed everybody else except for me. And clearly he's the one using this club. I didn't even see any of the werewolves
So
fight.
how crazy is he in his mind that he actually thinks, like, I think he believes in his cause. I don't think he's just wants to, you know, kill. He actually thinks this has to happen for the betterment of, you know, mankind, and I'll do anything. And in that sense, you know, I kind of respect the idea. He's going about it, you know, terribly, but there's something redeeming about someone willing to give up so much and to take on the responsibility of so much, you know, death and destruction and whatever for something they think is noble, albeit crazy. On an upside, always trying to find the silver lining.
We're trying to find the redeeming qualities.
It's
of
there.
Gerard now.
And then we see
fire?
Gerard. He blinds Deucalion with those electrically powered arrows.
Yeah.
Those are
Where did he get
serious.
those?
I don't know, but hopefully those were the only two he had, because I don't want to see that it happen again. But we get that great scene where, you know, we find out his eyes will heal, but he's always going to be blind. And then Marco from his pack thinks that he can't see anything, so this is a great time to become an alpha. But little does Margot know that Deucalion's not always blind, and when he turns into a wolf, he can see, which I loved. I loved knowing that, you know, he can see, actually.
Yeah, and I did like that scene, especially because it shows you in any moment of weakness, these animals will just turn on you, you know, and try to ascend the ranks. And that, you know, I thought that was really, really telling that, like, you know, your best buddy will just kill you just to try to get your power in a second. So who can you trust?
Right, and then that goes on the spiral of why, you know, Deucalion, I guess, started killing all the packs, because he got this power from Marco. But we didn't really see him, you know, rage or anything until, you know, he lost his sight. So, I mean, losing a sense could really, really do something like that to you. What do you think about that, Sarah?
I mean, I thought this scene was insightful, and like the fact that through death and through killing is the only way he can see is its own message and scary. This is totally irrelevant and only went on probably in my head, so I think it's hilarious, but no one else will. The fact that he was blind and saying Marco, I was just waiting for someone.
Could you imagine?
Oh my god.
That would be like a day on set if Dylan was there. He would interrupt the scene and like peek his head in and go, Polo, and like stop everything and everyone would laugh.
I was just waiting because it's all, and I understood that it was like a really tragic, like crazy scene.
That's very funny.
But the fact that he's blind, he's like, Marco, and I was like,
We gotta ask Jeff if that was intentional.
The very, very little is unintentional.
Yeah, I know.
hope it
Jeff
was
is a mastermind.
Yes,
so.
I mean, I challenge you to find something that he goes, oh, I didn't think of that. Really, he's like, yeah, that's in there for a reason. That's why he doesn't sleep.
Maybe I understand Jeff on some level then.
I think you probably do.
I wanna
was thinking in this
understand
scene.
Jeff. I want to know more about where that mindset is. He's brilliant.
I don't
But
know. Once you get in there, you might not be able to get out.
oh no.
Be aware, enter your own risk.
So since we know that Gerard was lying, Scott said if he was lying, he would definitely pay for it. So what do you think Scott's going to do with this information? Do you think Gerard's in trouble? I really don't see Scott ever killing anyone, so...
I don't either. I thought that was a threat. I thought about that especially. I was like, wow, that's pretty bold. Like, that's basically him saying, I'm going to kill you.
Right, that's what I
And he
thought.
wouldn't do that. So
Okay, but if there was one person for, like, Scott to kill at this point, I kind of feel like Gerard has the most, like, length of being evil. I mean, obviously, Deucalion he's got a little crazy too, but Gerard's been this way for a long time. Maybe he kind of deserves it.
to that, I would say, I don't think Scott, for the length of the show, I don't think, and I don't know, but I don't think he can ever kill anybody. I think that would destroy the innocence
His
of
character,
and his
Maybe he'll
character.
accidentally kill him.
Except there is some kind of lore, if you will, that if he kills the alpha that bit him, it then reverses his curse. So if anything, he would kill Peter Hale, and then he would be a real boy again. So, but even I don't even think he could do that.
Oh my god. You know what I really like about Scott is he's like the first superhero that never kills anyone ever. And I really want him to
Okay, but-
maintain that.
You have
He
to.
can't keep that. I really don't think he can. I don't think.
That is his power is not his wolfness, it's his heart.
Yeah.
That's his power. If he
Okay,
gives
but-
that up, then he's just like everybody else. That's what I
Right.
think.
I mean, he's rising to this position purely from his character and who he is as a person at heart.
But I guess personally, I just don't think that. I think there is some things that are worth killing for.
Do you want to talk about some
Yeah,
stuff?
what do you want to
Do you
kill
want to
for,
just get it?
Sarah?
Listen, get it off.
This is what I'm trying to
Get off your
say.
chest.
No. I just feel like if it's like the fate of the town or the
I don't, we can pull up another seat on this side.
my
if you really want
gosh.
to.
Are you switching sides? Are you gonna go over there?
No, this might get interesting.
I'm just saying that for the safety of the friends and the family, sometimes you have
maybe
to
he should
cross that
kill.
line. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying he should go on a killing spree or kill him for fun or kill him for a threat.
Just to,
But I'm saying to
Killing
protect
sweetheart.
the others.
Well, I mean, if he's the leader of the pack, I'm sure he can ask somebody else to do it, or
That's-
they will just take, command of
okay,
themselves.
but if
and
he
go.
does ask someone else to kill someone, that's just as bad as him
I
killing
don't think
someone.
he'll
you
have
can go to
to.
jail for that.
Yeah, I know.
Saw it on TV
He
once.
wouldn't do that.
Have you looked into that?
Okay, guys. Before we get into our last topic,
I'm not the
Chaperones.
only evil.
Okay, guys.
don't forget you can support AfterBuzz by going to iTunes and YouTube, commenting, rating, and downloading
Do
our show.
all of those things.
You
Comment,
can
rate, and download.
You can join the conversation by calling our fan line at any point during this live show at 424-256-1729. You can join our live chat, and you can tweet at me at Cinematic Escape, and I can read your questions later if you have any for Ian.
Or you can call Sarah's cell phone.
Or you can call Sarah's cell phone, which we'll give out at
She
the end of
likes
the
long walks on the
program.
beach, unicorns, and pizza.
I want to read some
I'll
of
take
our.
the pizza and the walks on the beach.
I want a unicorn.
Unicorns? If you can find me a unicorn,
I have
The
one.
answer is yes.
there we go.
She's taken suddenly. Okay, I want to read some of our comments from our listeners left on iTunes and YouTube last week. Buru Raven said, I had to watch your show before I even watched Visionary, though. It was really fascinating to get to know someone with a resume with like the size of Russell's, and it was awesome that you were able to bring him on. Also, his life stories are incredible and so funny. It was an honor to meet him. I'm sure you like working with Russell Mulcahy.
I think Russell is unanimously the most favorite person on set. Like, I think everybody would say that without a doubt. He's just so perfectly him. He's one of the more authentic people I've ever met.
That's a great way to say it.
I love Russell Mulcahy. And he lives across the street from me. Like, literally. So we meet for coffee and sandwiches at the hotel a lot, and I see him driving, and we're like, hi, Russell. Hello.
I love
One
Russell.
time I saw him running up the street, like nowhere in particular, just like running, but not jogging, like he was just like someone was chasing him.
In normal clothes?
In normal clothes, and I was like, Russell, what are you doing? He's like, I was like, okay, we'll talk to you later. He goes,
Continue running?
Yeah, but he wasn't jogging. He was just. Anyway, you had to be.
That's when you want to get things done, you just gotta run everywhere. That's the secret of success.
Russell is fantastic. I love him.
We do too. We got to bring him on last week.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and that's why the fans were commenting. They really enjoyed him being on.
Yeah, he's spectacular.
Yeah, so HL Effort says, just watched Visionary, and I believe that the English teacher is Derek's girlfriend from high school. Remember when she told injured Derek that it would be to his advantage if people thought he was dead when they were together in the loft? I think she was referring to herself. Now, I don't know that this is true, but that would be awesome if it was
If
the
she
English.
was Paige?
Yeah, if the English teacher was actually Paige who
Paige
died
is
in the
dead.
woods. You know, dead is kind of irrelevant in Teen Wolf. It never seems to
It's
stick.
definitely a relative term for
Yeah.
sure. That would be great.
Yeah, that would be...
I can't really say.
Yeah.
Because I actually know the answer to that.
Right, but I had to read that because I was just like, you know what?
Face.
I was so sad that
me too.
Padge, that, you guys done? Poker facing?
Are you guys? Sorry, Mom.
You guys are in timeout. I'm going to continue with the show. So I really wish that Paige, you know, did come back. If she's the teacher, I'm fine with that. If she's some weird, you know, spirit that rose because she got killed by, you know, Peter when she was younger, it was your idea, so I'm blaming you. Then, you know,
Mastermind behind all of it.
I would not
gets
mind
the
all of
blame.
that.
But
I
who-
think that's a great prediction.
Just not to interrupt you, but who asked Ennis to bite her?
Okay, apparently Derek did, but I think it was you.
He is
Apparently,
a
that's such a
story.
funny
He is a
word.
teenager there, impressionable.
What was
Yeah.
I?
You can,
You were the one who put the
You were
idea
an
in his
older
head.
We're virtually the same age.
Planted that seed.
yeah, how old are
I
you?
just
By
want
the
to
way,
say,
when,
now?
when Dylan
Like,
said
what
that
is-
line, how old were you then? And he goes, wait, how old are you now? I rewound it 3 times and watched it. He was so funny. But anyway, that going back, that's a very important question, I think, is who actually asked. I may have planted the seed,
But who?
but who did it? If he did it, that's different than if I did it, or if I said, hey, listen, I'll take care of this. Ambiguous at best.
I'm going to speculate. Derek was, you know, in the locker room, sitting on the bench, basking.
Right, so he knew it was happening.
Yeah, I
Didn't
mean,
stop
because
it.
Paige went there to clearly meet up with him. And so he's just kind
He
of,
knew,
yeah,
obviously.
he obviously knew, but he changed his mind, and then it was too late. So, a few more people I want to thank. Baru
mean, we did-
Raven, Blood Cold, Wolf's Wind, Matt Spike, Jaded Eyes, Perselia, Naughty06, BX Girls, Peter, Already Calm, Ed Name, Mr. AWAX, and Derek Johnson. Thank you guys for your comments. We really appreciate it.
Thanks,
And
guys.
send us your questions, and we'll continue to answer them. Sarah, did you want to
I
say
mean,
something?
I think we just knew it wasn't going to end well, being that it started again in the music room with a metronome. Things never end well
Not
from that
good.
music
I
room.
love
Not
that
good.
music room, but yeah, it's not good.
It scares me now. It
It's
comes
a-
on screen, I'm like, oh,
beacon for bad
great.
things.
Our last topic this evening, before we get into our interview with Ian,
That means get
I
ready.
thought this was the interview.
this was not the interview.
I told you. Probing questions.
Our last topic is druids and emissaries. So we find out that, you know, there's a shapeshifter, Talia, Derek Hale's mom, and she's like the most respected. She's very wise, and she's one with nature, sort of, and she's
powerful.
She's working with the earth, which I've always seen, you know, if you're working with the earth, that's like your biggest alliance, the earth, because if you've got nature on your side, you can do crazy things. You're a superhero, probably.
Absolutely.
So, they go to Talia for advice and guidance, and Deaton was the emissary to Talia, we find out. And Miss Morell, his sister, is actually the emissary or counselor for Deucalion.
Thank you for the. I've been waiting.
Yeah.
That was a
so
tricky
long
one.
to figure out what
yeah,
they were.
You and me both.
So I was like, come on. And the fact that we got that, I was like, okay. And I like what they are. It makes sense to me. So.
It makes a lot of
It
sense.
makes sense to me.
I got it.
So funny.
The emissaries are like the balance between the druids and the werewolves. And the druids are kind of the balance between nature and the supernatural, which we find out. And so the druids taught them how to shapeshift back and forth into humans. And we get that whole story about Lycan challenging the gods, and he invited Zeus to a banquet, and then he tried to feed them the flesh of humans. So Zeus turned them all into werewolves, and Lycan and his family went to the druids to try to get them to help them turn back. And they couldn't turn them back, but they taught them how to shapeshift and go from a wolf to a human.
Right.
Yep.
So at least they get like some time off,
Right.
Which
From
is-
their evil curse.
which is important.
So people are predicting that Lydia is going to be the emissary for Scott's pack. What do you think about that, Sarah?
Who's doing that? I didn't even think about that.
Ooh.
Oh wait, she said Sarah. You go.
I mean,
Well, because I didn't know if you knew, but you can absolutely comment
predictions are our
I
thing.
love that idea.
that Lydia is the
Yeah.
druid for
say,
Scott's
say
pack.
something about that.
I love that idea.
What next?
I didn't think about that. No.
To move her arms.
I hadn't thought of that yet, but that's really cool. She's definitely learning something, and I think that it does coincide with when, Scott kind of separated himself from Derek and went off on his own path. So alignment and time-wise, I think that really could work. But from my understanding, I want to know exactly which pack that Deacon is assigned to, because they said Derek.
Deaton? Yeah, I'm not
Deaton.
sure. Deaton.
But-
he is not on. I mean, yeah, Talia's not with us anymore. So.
Exactly. But so if it goes, does it go directly to Derek, or if Scott becomes a true alpha, can Deacon side with him? Because he basically has been his emissary. Even if Lydia is changing to be one, like he's acted the role of, he's been actively like helping him
That's a
and
good
guiding
point.
him,
I think
which
it's
is the
like-
role of an emissary.
I think it's. I would just bring up Star Wars because I love it. You've got you've got
Obi-Wan.
the Yoda, and then the Obi-Wan. I think they pass it down. I think they have to keep it moving and keep the generations going.
but
'cause-
Obi-Wan and Yoda both are emissaries to Luke.
So he
yes,
can. So
but what I'm
Scott
saying,
can
at
have
some
two.
point you have to get the next thing rolling. I wouldn't be surprised to see Deaton and Lydia in a scene doing something. I like the idea, and I think you might be right. She is being groomed for something really great. I love this aspect of her character that we're not sure what she's doing, or she's this sort of antenna for this. So that would be a great line. I don't know if Jeff's thinking of that, but
I was just thinking.
Go
I was
for
just
it.
having
No,
a
I
flashback
love it.
of the fact of when the guidance counselor pointed out that Lydia was the one they could turn to.
Right, that's
She
a great
guided
point.
in that
Morale.
scene. Morale.
Yeah,
so they
Morale.
already know
She
about this stuff.
guided.
They
She's
know
been on
about
their
Lydia.
radar forever.
Right, but
we
only
just don't know.
the
They know
job.
about
High five.
Lydia, obviously. A reaction, high five.
I'm bringing it back.
super loud guys.
Sorry.
So only the alpha knows who the emissary is, though, for their pack, which I think is great. But so only Scott will know what Lydia really is, if that is to happen, and the audience, of course. So I'm excited to see that. And we get to see the Nematon, which is the bloody druid tree. It's the sacred meeting place of the druids, and any cutting or harming of the tree would cause death and destruction. We find out in this episode, and there's the Celtic five-fold knot on the tree, that symbol. And what I want to know is, why would a druid attempt to kill an emissary? Because they had Deaton. So I don't understand. And then the third doctor was found right after Deaton wasn't killed and Scott found him. So it's like, did they put that there as a ploy just to distract Scott? Or
Well,
why would a druid attempt to kill
it was
an
hinted
emissary?
in this episode that the dark druid was expecting Deaton to live or survive. Like
Gerard said that.
Yeah, which could.
But he was also saying in that same sentence that he was like pointing fingers at Deaton, saying it was him who was the druid.
True, but I think that there is a point to that fact that maybe they did know Deaton was survived, or else why would they need to sacrifice someone else so quickly? Also, the fact they brought in the tree, which takes us back to the tree that Lydia drew when she was free writing, is a good image. And I think that the foreshadowing of any danger to the tree is a danger to the area. I think that's going to play a big factor in like the next coming weeks.
Right.
And it didn't look to be in very good condition anyway.
You know, you can always have a bad apple.
That's a good point.
Yes, you know, maybe. I'm just saying.
I really like.
Are you saying Deaton's a bad apple?
No, but she was saying, like, why would a druid, you know, do that? I'm just saying there's you know,
There could be
you
a
know,
bad
if you
apple
open up
in
the
the
eggs
bunch.
at the grocery store, sometimes one of them's cracked.
That's a great. I like that.
You don't, but you put that one back and you get a different one.
Or maybe, like everyone else in this, he had horrible circumstances growing up as a child and then turned dark.
I always buy the cartons with the bad egg.
You don't open them?
And you have to make
No,
sure
I
they're
do.
not sticking
I
to the
open
bottom.
them. I see one's broken. I was like, I don't want this egg carton to stay here all alone. I'm just kidding.
Oh, that was so sweet. I was going with it. I love that. It's like, wow. Because they go somewhere. Where did they go?
Yeah, they get thrown out. So I'm like, I don't want to waste this
they?
food.
I'm sure they just take them at the end of the day and like.
No, they take them to the
rearrange
deli and they
them.
make egg salad out of them.
I'm just trying to get you guys to buy those. It's just something so funny that we all do. It's ridiculous. Jeff said in an interview that the Druid chant is like the Jaws soundtrack whenever you know the shark is coming, and I really liked that, so I had to bring that up.
That's cool.
All right, guys. Well, that was a fantastic episode, but now we want to get into our interview with Ian
It's me.
because we are so happy that you joined us. This has been
Are we
amazing.
talking about me?
Very happy. We can share time, Doctor.
We can share time. All right. So, my first question, I always am interested in how aspects from our childhood lead us into specific careers. What story from your childhood would you say contributed to you choosing to be an actor?
Oh, man. You know, I think for me, I watched, somehow or another, I was always watching movies. I was always in front of the TV, not watching television, but watching films. And they just, they just struck me. They were just so magical that, I would watch the same movie every day for, a month after school. And I just kind of learned life and no, not necessarily behavior, but like I'm like, oh, this is what things are about through a series of movies as I grew up. And I liked pretending. And then once I realized that those two equated with what I was seeing was people pretending, I was like, that seems like a pretty good gig. So I fell into it more so. I wasn't really like, oh, I want to be an actor. That didn't happen for me. I just started, and then I realized what it was, and then I fell in love with it after I started doing it a little bit, when I kind of had more of a sense of what it was. And then that's when I was like, okay, this is it for me. There's nothing else I want to do, and so I'm going to keep going. And so I'm still going.
Did you ever consider any other career option?
Oh, man. I wanted to quit, every day. I know, and I thought, what can I do? I wanted to be a fighter pilot when I was a kid. That's all I ever wanted to do. I wanted to join the Navy.
You know what's fun is you can do all those things as an
That's
actor.
what I say now. I'm like, it's so much better to play that on TV than it is to go and do whatever. I want to be a baseball player. I still do. I want to be a rock star more than anything. If I could.
He's already mentioned this earlier.
If anybody
This is
needs a rock
true
star,
passion that he wants to be a rock star.
I could try that.
If you could play any role, past or present, TV or film, what role would it be?
Oh my gosh.
That's a
For
thinking
me,
one.
I like roles where you can't really discern the actor playing them. Roles like Daniel Lewis does in There Will Be Blood, in Lincoln, My Left Foot, and Last of the Mohicans, things like that, where it's a complete separation from just a guy being, a guy. There's a lot of great actors that I adore, and they're playing, them being, doing cool stuff, which I think is awesome. But if you can't see the actor in the character anymore, that to me is really the epitome of it. And I would pray that I would be good enough to do that one day, because that's just the pinnacle, I think. I think Daniel Lewis is the best actor ever. Sorry, Marlon Brando. Sorry.
Do you have a favorite genre?
No.
No.
I like drama. I like dramatics. I like histrionics. At the moment, I like zombie movies. I've always wanted to make
that is definitely going with history.
yeah, but I really, really, I'm interested in that. But
Are you talking
otherwise,
old school zombie or like new age zombie?
I kind of like the new age. I like 28 Days Later.
Mm-hmm.
I like Zack Snyder's zombie film that he made. I just think it's neat. It's going a new direction. I'm not like a super nerd. I'm like a regular nerd. But I think it's neat. But otherwise, just drama. I like drama. I like comedy too, but I think drama's really interesting right now.
Can you talk a little bit about your acting process and the journey from season 1 to now season 3 and what's changed?
Okay. Season 1 was really, really tricky because I got the job. The show hadn't been on. No one knows what it is. Mm-hmm. You just call Teen Wolf, and I remember the movie because I've seen it, 45 times. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, so I'm making Teen Wolf, so what do I do with that? And I get the job. I have no idea who the character is. I know what his name is. I have no idea that he was the alpha. I have no idea of the arc. So I'm doing these scenes, and I'm like, what's going on? Does anybody know? And they're like, mm-hmm. So nobody would tell me because it was a big secret. So I'm trying to, figure out what's happening and be as truthful to the material and try to make something of a character as you're going along. And then in season 2 you certainly know what's happening and you get an idea of who the guy is and what he's all about, and then you can start thinking, well, what does he want, what is he after, how does he behave? And then in this season it's been the easiest, the freest, and the most fun to explore and play with that. Mm-hmm. So it's more cemented. So I'm having a ball doing it now because I actually know what the hell's going on.
And what's one of your best memories on set?
I say this a lot. What I think about, it all melds together because everything just, it's like the same places and the same people, and you can't really differentiate different moments. But what I do think about is when everybody's really tired and it's really late and it's 5 a.m. and you're kind of beat up and you're everybody wants to go home, and you look around and you see all the same faces feeling the same way, and everybody gets together and we smile and have a giggle and we're like, okay, let's go, let's do it, let's finish. And all of the personalities and all of the actors and the crew as well, and our directors and our producers, they come together in those moments when everyone just wants to leave and we finish. And like we win together. And it's really, I haven't been on a set where that many people are on the same page in that way. And that's my favorite part of going to work is those faces at the end when it's like, dude, I want to go home. And we're like, let's just go. Let's finish this. And we do it. And that's when you're like, dude, this is great. So that's the memory that I think of a lot. And that happens, almost weekly, which is cool.
That's
awesome.
Great.
Is there a project that you're currently working on the side or a future project?
I've done some really neat arcs on some TV shows lately. That the character, I can't really give anything away, may or may not come back into, and so those are always fun, to do. But my my main number one job, is Teen Wolf, and I like to devote all my time and energy to making sure I can do that as best I can.
And thank you, because it shows. I mean, you're an amazing
I'm
character
glad you like
to watch.
That's very sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very sweet.
So I always ask at the end of the interviews, is there, what's a goal for you in your acting career? Because a lot of people, they look at you now and, they see you as being, well, you are. You're successful in your craft, and they don't really think about, he has other goals, too, that he's chasing. And they have a lot of goals, but they're sitting at home watching you. And
what's funny is when you start, how your goals, what you think you want, how that changes as you get older and you do more stuff. For me right now, I want to direct. I want to be the storyteller. For me, that's the most exciting part, and that's what looking back when I was watching those movies as a kid, what I liked about them was the story, and I want to tell that story in my way. And as the director, you get to do that. You get to shape that, and that is what I'm focusing on right now.
Adrian on Twitter actually asked if you enjoyed being the narrator of Visionary, and it's kind of like you were directing this episode in telling the story.
Yes, I did. I did very much. I like being able to decide how I'm going to tell the story and how I want the audience to see it, and that's the difference between performing as an actor and directing as a director. Is you can think about what the audience reaction is. As an actor, you're not supposed to think about that. You're supposed to just do your thing, but as a director, you can manipulate. And that's really interesting to me. I want them to see my story and the ideas that I have.
Adrian had one more question that I thought was really good. He wanted to know what you would have gotten out of page turning in tonight's episode.
I think that I would have had a leash on Derek, and been able to, sort of guide him exactly where I wanted to go, and had a, sort of like little minions that I could have, my little ducklings that I could have worked with and used, as pawns as I see fit. And it, the opposite happened. I had a loose cannon. I had Derek, so that sucked for me. But yeah, I think that's what I wanted.
Thank you for answering all of my questions and all the fan questions. We really appreciate you
You're
being
welcome.
here. It was an amazing interview.
You're welcome.
And let's go ahead and roll into predictions.
Oh.
And now, your
I always
AfterBuzz
get
TV.
confused whether like predictions are like my favorite part or my least favorite part.
We have-
because when I'm right, I'm like, yeah.
You've been right a lot. I mean, we have 4 episodes left. What do you want to see happen? We find out who the druid is and Lydia, what her power is next episode. I want to know like who's going to be fighting in the end battle. What are the teams? Who's the Drock, which we'll get next episode. And
You guys don't know that, do you?
no, we don't know. We don't know anything. And we see in the preview episode that Allison says something like, he knows everything, he's planned everything, and we see that like UV light that she has. So I can only suspect that was Argent, and he has a plan, and she's going to try to stop her dad from doing something. I'm not really sure.
I think that we're gonna have to see some alliances formed, because I don't think they can go. I think there is going to be a big final battle, but I don't think they can go in as they are now, because right now everyone's so divided.
Right.
And I think they're going to have to find a common enemy in this dark druid. But who's
That's good.
what?
I like that.
Does that mean I'm wrong?
It doesn't
I just
mean
like the way
anything.
you said it. That's all.
Like, I feel like that was like I'm wrong, but I do. I feel like they have to come up with these alliances to destroy this one power that's affecting all of them.
Right.
So.
No, I think that's good. I can't wait for next week. And hey guys, you can find me at Cinematic Escape on Twitter, or you can bing my blog, Cinematic Escape. Corey, the assistant editor on Teen Wolf, he wasn't able to be here this evening, but you can come see him play in his band, The Articles, at the House of Blues tomorrow on the Sunset Strip in Los Angeles. And I will actually be performing there as well, playing a few instruments at 10:30 at the Sunset Strip, House of Blues. Sarah, where can we find you?
You can find me here next Sunday for True Blood.
And Ian, where can we find you?
When?
Tomorrow night. Are you coming to our show?
Oh, what's tomorrow? What day is it? What
We
day's
can
today?
find him at the House of Blues. No, on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is at Ian Bohen, which is my name.
Is there anywhere else, any blogs you have, any bands they can check you out in?
No. That's the
You
only
have to get
social
on that
media.
band thing so you can be a rock star.
I know. I've been begging Posey to let me come play with him, but he's like, dude, I love you. No.
But no.
But
All right.
no.
All right, guys. Well, tweet your questions to Ian, and we'll see you next week.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.